Why you suffer in love. Freud explains your heart. You know that feeling when you're head over heels for someone who treats you badly, or when you push away the person who's actually good for you, or maybe you keep dating the same type of person over and over, even though it always ends the same way. Everyone thinks love should be simple, but here's the truth. Your heart has been programmed since childhood, and most of the time, you're not falling in love with the person in front of you. You're falling in love with a ghost from your past. Before we dive into why your love life feels like a psychological thriller, hit that subscribe button if you want to understand your mind and stop repeating the same romantic mistakes. Like this video if you've ever wondered why love hurts so much. And let's explore what Freud discovered about the human heart, the love trap, why we choose pain. Let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed that the people who make you feel butterflies are often the ones who end up breaking your heart? Meanwhile, the stable, kind person who would actually treat you well feels boring. Freud had a name for this: repetition compulsion. It's like your unconscious mind is a broken record, playing the same song over and over. But here's the twist. It's not actually broken. It's trying to solve an old puzzle. Think of it this way. Imagine your unconscious as a detective that never gave up on a cold case. From your childhood, every time you meet someone new, this detective is asking, could this be the person who finally gives me the love I never got? Or could this be the person who helps me fix what went wrong back then? Your first love story, the family drama. Here's something that might blow your mind. Your first love story wasn't with your high school crush. It was with your parents, and that story, whether it was beautiful, complicated, or traumatic, became the template for every love story that followed. Freud called this the Oedipus complex. But forget the fancy name. Here's what it really means. As a child, you learned what love looks like by watching your parents. You absorb their dynamics, their conflicts, their way of showing affection or withholding it. If your father was emotionally distant, you might find yourself attracted to people who are hard to reach. If your mother was overly critical, you might unconsciously seek partners who put you down. It's like your heart learned a foreign language in childhood, and now it can only recognize love when it's spoken in that same language. Even if that language is pain, the invisible puppet, master, transference in love. Have you ever had a fight with your partner and suddenly felt like a 5-year-old? Or found yourself saying things like, you never listened to me, when what you really mean is, my dad never listened to me? Welcome to transference, the psychological phenomenon where you treat your partner like they're someone from your past. It's like wearing glasses with the wrong prescription. You think you're seeing your boyfriend or girlfriend clearly, but you're actually seeing them through the lens of old relationships. Here's a real example. Sarah always dates men who promise her the world, but never follow through. She grew up with a father who would say we'll go to Disney World next year every year, but it never happened. Now, 30 years later, she's unconsciously attracted to the same pattern because her heart is still trying to get her dad to keep his promise. The crazy part, she has no idea she's doing this. Her unconscious mind sees a guy who makes grand gestures and thinks, finally, this is the one who will actually follow through. But she keeps choosing the same type because that's the only kind of love her heart knows how to recognize. The self-sabotage paradox. Now here's where it gets really twisted. Sometimes we don't just choose the wrong people, we actively destroy good relationships. Have you ever been with someone amazing and suddenly found reasons to pick fights or create distance? Freud would say you're dealing with what he called resistance. Your conscious mind wants love, but your unconscious mind is terrified of it. Why? Because if you've been hurt before, your psyche has learned that love equals danger. It's like having a security system in your heart that's so sensitive. It goes off even when a friend approaches. Your unconscious mind would rather you be alone and safe than loved and vulnerable. Think about it. If you grew up believing you're not worthy of love, then when someone truly loves you, it creates what psychologists call cognitive dissonance. Your mind literally can't compute it, so it creates chaos to return to the familiar pattern of rejection, the ghost relationship, loving someone who isn't there. Here's something even more mind-bending. Sometimes you're not even in love with the person you think you're in love with. You're in love with who you imagine they could become, or who they remind you of, or who they were in the first 3 months before you really got to know them. Freud called this projection. You're like a movie projector, casting your own movies onto another person's blank screen. You fall in love with your own projection, not the actual human being standing in front of you. This is why so many people say things like you've changed when relationships go south. The truth is, the person didn't change. You just started seeing them clearly instead of seeing your projection. The masochistic heart. Why some people are addicted to pain. Now let's talk about something really uncomfortable. Why some people seem addicted to relationships. That hurt. Freud noticed that some of his patients unconsciously sought out painful experiences, and he called this masochism. But here's the thing, it's not that people enjoy pain. It's that pain feels familiar, and familiar feels like home. If chaos and drama were the soundtrack of your childhood, then peaceful love might actually feel wrong or boring. Your unconscious mind might be thinking, this person treats me well, but where's the intensity? Where's the passion? This can't be real love because real love is supposed to hurt. It's like being addicted to a drug that's slowly killing you, but it's the only drug you know how to take. The parent trap, dating your mom or dad. Here's a pattern that's so common it's almost cliche, but it's real. People often end up dating someone who's psychologically similar to their opposite sex parent, and if that parent was problematic, well, you can see where this is going. But it gets weirder. Sometimes people do the exact opposite. They date someone who's nothing like their parent, thinking they've broken the pattern. But Freud would say this is just reaction formation, doing the opposite of what you want to do because the original desire feels too dangerous. Either way, your parent is still controlling your love life from the unconscious. It's like they're the invisible third person in every relationship you have. The fantasy versus reality battle. One of the biggest sources of suffering in love comes from what Freud called the pleasure principle versus the reality principle. Part of your mind wants love to be a fairy tale where everything is perfect and no one ever hurts anyone. But reality is messy, complicated, and requires actual work. When the fantasy crashes into reality, we suffer. We think the problem is that we chose the wrong person, but often the problem is that we expected love to solve problems it was never meant to solve. We want our partner to be our therapist, our best friend, our soulmate, our adventure buddy, and our emotional support system all rolled into one. No human being can live up to that fantasy, and when they inevitably fail, we feel betrayed. The fear of intimacy, why getting close feels dangerous. Here's something Freud understood that most people miss. Intimacy is terrifying, not just because you might get hurt, but because intimacy means being truly seen. And what if the person who sees you clearly decides you're not worth loving? This fear creates what psychologists call approach avoidance conflict. You desperately want love, but you also desperately want to protect yourself from the vulnerability that love requires. So you end up in this crazy dance where you get close enough to feel connected, but not close enough to feel safe. You share your body, but not your deepest thoughts. You say I love you, but you don't let them see you cry, breaking the pattern. What Freud would tell you. So how do you break free from these unconscious patterns? Freud's answer was simple, but not easy. Make the unconscious conscious. You have to become a detective of your own heart. Start noticing your patterns. Ask yourself, who does this person remind me of? What am I really looking for in this relationship? What am I afraid will happen if I truly let someone in? How did I learn to love? And is that method actually working? Freud also believed in something called sublimation, channeling your emotional energy into creative or productive activities. Sometimes the best thing you can do for your love life is to stop focusing on it and start focusing on becoming the person you want to be. And here's the most important part: therapy. Freud invented psychoanalysis because he believed that talking about your unconscious patterns in a safe space with a trained professional could literally rewire your brain. You don't have to lie on a couch and talk about your mother for 10 years, but you might benefit from exploring why you keep choosing the same types of people, or why love feels so dangerous. Love doesn't have to be a repetition of your childhood trauma. You can learn new ways to love and be loved. But first you have to understand the old patterns that are running the show. So what do you think? Do you recognize any of these patterns in your own love life? Have you ever noticed yourself dating the same type of person over and over? Drop a comment below and tell me about your most eye-opening relationship pattern. I read every single comment, and your story might help someone else realize they're not alone in this. And if this video helped you understand something about yourself, please share it with someone who might need to hear it. Sometimes we all need a reminder that our hearts are more complicated than we think. But that complexity doesn't make us broken, it makes us human. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the mysterious workings of your mind. Until next time, remember, understanding yourself is the first step to loving yourself, and loving yourself is the first step to letting someone else love you too.